the next couple of weeks. Last week was goalkeepers. We could be back line. Hopefully everybody joins us for all of them and doesn't just look at the positions they play, because you may end up playing different positions, and it's always good to understand what the demands are in other players' positions. So we'll get going here. Obviously, some of this is influenced by starting lineup, and then also there's the numbering system. Generally, when we talk about the numbering system, we're talking about a 1-4-3-3 type of formation, but there are other formations. There's a lot of other formations that are played in the game of soccer, and also other formations that are club plays. So if you play a 3-back, there's a lot of variability in what numbers that we're talking about are. Today we're focused on 2-3-4-5. So when we look at a back four, that would be right to left, number 2 right back, 3 left back, 4 right center back, 5 left center back. Again, in the 3-back, it might look a little differently, but so just some examples. These aren't all the starting lineup or all the formations that are possible, but they're probably the ones that are the most common that we'd see. So there's a 1-4-3-3, there's a 1-4-2-3-1, a variation of a 4-3-3, a 1-4-4-2 with 2. You might have heard on TV 2 banks of 4. So there's a line of 4 at the back, a line of 4 in the midfield, and then 2 forwards up top. There's a 4 diamond 2. You might hear this described as maybe a 4-1-2-1-2, or maybe a 4-1-3-2. But it's basically a diamond in the midfield. And then there's a pretty aggressive attacking lineup, 4-2-4. The U.S. women's national team experimented with this between the last 2 World Cups for a little bit at times. It's just a way to change things up. Don't see it a lot, but you will see it from time to time, and some teams might look in the attacking phase like a 4-2-4. Especially if they play a 4-4-2, you might see the wide midfielders really push high and play as like wing forwards along with the 2 central forwards. And then there's a 1-4 box 2. So instead of a diamond in the midfield, it's just kind of tilted on its side and it looks like a box. Back when I was growing up, Brazil won the World Cup back in 1994 when the U.S. hosted it. And this was the formation that they used. It was pretty popular during that time, playing a box midfield. Currently, North Carolina Courage in the NWSL, Paul Riley is the coach, and he really prefers a 4-box-4. Or 4-box-2, I should say. So if you hear feedback, sorry, people here cutting my grass. So if it's a little bit loud, my apologies. We look at some 3-back systems. So these are kind of comparable. So instead of playing a 4-3-3, you push one of the backs into the midfield, and you end up with a 3-4-3. Instead of a 4-2-3-1, again, you push one of those players from the back line into the next line, into that holding midfielder line. You go for a 3-3-1-3. Instead of a 4-4-2, again, you can kind of push some players forward, push one out of the back line. All right, play a 3-2-3-2. You have a 3 diamond 3, so you can play another variation of a 3-4-3. Instead of the 4 in the midfield being flat across, you can play with a diamond. You can again be super aggressive and play 3-3-4, or you can play a 1-3-3-2-2. All different variations of a 3-back. I think the ones that you probably would see the most if you played them, I know the 04s girls have played them. We would play a variation of a 3-4-3, or probably a 3-2-3-2, basically a 3-5-2. 3 backs, 2 holding midfielders, a higher line of midfielders with a 3, and then 2 forwards. So we'll look here a little bit at some of those shapes. You see we're basically in the 4-3-3 shape right now. So you've got with the goalkeeper, number 1, right fullback. The numbers always go right to left. So right fullback is 2, left fullback is 3, right center back is 4, right center back is 4, left center back is 5. And this will change this a little bit, but right now we've got 1 holding mid. So this is what we would say is a 4-3-3. 1 holding mid in the 6, an 8, and a 10 as other more attack-minded midfielders. 7 is the right wing, 11 is the left wing, and then you've got your number 9 as the center forward. So just click this here and play through. It's going to go through some different shapes. I'll try to pause it without screwing it up. So again, we see this. This is just the 1-4-3-3. Now we change it. We see how those midfielders are connected, and now all of a sudden it's a 4-2-3-1. All right, or you can still say it's a 4-3-3. Some coaches will say the triangle is pointed forward in this one, and when we go back to the original, they'll say the triangle is pointed backward. So the midfield triangle is pointed back towards your own goal, or you'll say your midfield is pointed forward toward the goal you're attacking. But the numbers still stay the same. The only difference is the 8 slides back next to the 6, and you play with 2 holding players. Everybody else's numbers stay the same. So generally, when we're talking about these numbers now, that's kind of how we're looking at it. 4 and 5 are center backs. 2 and 3 are going to be fullbacks. But that can change. So look here, this is a 4-4-2. So you see basically the only difference in this, see the midfielders are just more flatter. They're not always completely flat. Usually you'll see, some people call this a bucket midfield, 6 and 8 sitting deeper. Now the 11 and the 7 become more like midfielders and have a little bit more defensive responsibility. 9 and 10 are up top. This is just another variation of the 4-4-2 where you would have the, whoops, see, I knew I would screw that up. Let's go back here. There we go. Another variation of the 4-4-2 is when we go to one behind the other. See the forwards, instead of being next to each other, one just plays behind the other. And then this is the diamond, so you can see the diamond in the midfield. Again, some coaches might refer to it a little bit differently. I still say 7 and 8 when I talk about the midfield diamond, so we're clear on who is who. The 7 is the right side of the diamond, the 8 is the left side of the diamond, but I have heard coaches refer to this as a double 8. All right, so they say the 2 sides of the diamond are considered 8, right and left side. Again, I just say 7 and 8 to keep it clear in terms of 7, you're the right side, 8, you're the left side. So that's a diamond, and I know a couple teams play that shape. So the numbers don't change very much there. For the back line, they don't change at all. Now, as we get into 3 backs, that's suddenly when we see a lot of changes. 2, 3, 5 are the center backs. Again, there's a lot of debate about the numbering system when we get into 3 backs. So the thing I would say, if you do play a 3 back a lot, it might just want to talk to your coach about what he or she considers the numbers in that particular system. I don't really refer to numbers a lot when we talk about a 3 back because I think it's just not as normal and most people aren't as used to it. So this would be a 3-4-3. So again, when we talk about today's position, generally this is what we're referring to: 4 and 5 center backs, 2 and 3 as fullbacks. All right, if you do play a 3-back system, you just realize there's an extra center back in there. All right, and when we talk about fullbacks, you operate more like wing backs in that role. When we look at this, so here we see the wing backs. You're playing more as like a fullback if you're playing with a 3-5-2, and then obviously you've got the extra center back in here. So that's basically what we're working off of for this. Oh, got ahead of myself. So characteristic category, from categories we look at, there's the technical aspect of the game, there's a tactical aspect, there's a mental aspect, and then there's a physical aspect. And that's kind of the way that we look at them. Like technically, if you can't execute, then you're going to struggle in the other 3 areas. If you can't pass, receive, do all the things that you need to do, it's going to be difficult for you to be successful on the field. And it's probably going to eventually, as you get older and it becomes more important, it's going to impact playing time. Tactical, you have to just be able to understand the game. All right. Mental, you've got to just have some of the qualities in order to compete on the field. And then the last one is physical. Physical attributes are important, but some of those you can make up with by being more technical, having a better tactical understanding of the game, and maybe having some mental qualities. So physical qualities certainly can be important, but I think they really do come last, because if you are just fast and big and strong, but you don't have any technique, don't really understand how to play the game, and you don't have a strong mentality, then it really doesn't do you a heck of a lot of good to have that speed and size or strength if you can't do those things. So we'll start looking now at the center back. So 4 and 5, the positional qualities here. So the technical qualities that we started out with. 1v1 duels, I think that's always going to be a big thing for most defenders. Can you win your 1v1s? And realistically, for any position, you're going to have to win your 1v1 battles. Those are going to look differently based on each position, but they're going to be that's going to be an important aspect for sure. You have to be able to tackle. Obviously, you have got to protect the center of the field closest to the goal. You're the last line of defense before attacking players reach the goalkeeper, especially again in the most dangerous area of the field, that central area of the field. So you've got to be able to tackle when necessary. There's all kinds of different types of tackling, and we'll look at those a little bit. And you'll see some of these in other aspects, right? Like again, when we look at video clips, one area might be a little bit more highlighted than the other, but you might see some of those other qualities, technical qualities, or some of the tactical qualities in these as well. Range of passing is important. Again, it might depend on how your team plays, what types of passing are important. If you're a longer ball team, then you need to be able to strike a longer ball. If your team wants to build up, then it's important that you're able to recognize and play a different type of passing. Maybe your coach pairs two center backs together, one who may be particularly good at longer passes and one who maybe is better at playing shorter passes, one who's maybe a better tackler and 1v1 dueler, and one who maybe is not as strong in that area but is a really good passer and distributor of the ball and helps in that aspect. So everybody's going to have their different qualities. Clearing the ball obviously is a pretty big element to the game to just eliminate danger or get rid of the ball in certain situations so it's not close to your goal and going away from your goal. Heading, hugely important as a central defender, something you're going to have to deal with a lot from all different angles. So if you do play central defender, it's something you constantly have to be working on, and if it's something that you're not particularly good at and you want to play central defense, then it's going to be something you either need to improve or you can expect at some point to maybe be looking at a positional change to another part of the field where maybe it's not quite as important that you're as good at heading the ball. And then accelerate on the dribble. We've looked at this one before, and we'll see some clips here. We'll just kind of go through and look at different clips of different. So this is 1v1. This is Messi versus Virgil van Dijk. You see he just kind of backs off there. We can look at it one more time. Messi's running at it. Van Dijk's trying to force him one way. When he tries to cut back, then Van Dijk puts in the tackle. So again, some of these clips contain more than one element to them. Where'd my cursor go? There we go. So another Van Dijk one. Teammate makes a bad pass, so he just uses his body to shield the ball off there. All right, play it one more time. See that poor pass. Van Dijk puts his body between himself, between the goal and the attacking player. Mbappe and Van Dijk again stays with him, makes sure he keeps in contact with him, and when the moment comes, has to put in the tackle. Everton player cutting inside, and then a 1v1 outside. Sometimes center backs will get pulled out into wider positions. This is a wider player cutting in, and you see Van Dijk stays with them, and here in the wider position just stays with the runner. And then again, when a moment arrives, he puts in the tackle. Again, this one is important. You see this kind of emergency defending here. The pass comes into that area. I think it's important. You see this one, again, just cuts in front. This one, there's no way he can close the player down, so he just makes himself as big as possible, stands up to it, recognizes the player wants to take a shot, all right, and then just blocks it. And then this will be a similar one. This is Becky Sauerbrunn from the U.S. Women's National Team, steps up, stays in front, and then recognizes that moment to put in the tackle. So you saw a lot of different versions of tackling in that, and also the 1v1. We look at tackling. This is Sauerbrunn again, tracking back, covering behind the fullback, all right, and again, timing the tackle. Again, if you're a center back, that's something that you're going to have to perfect. All right, is it what you want to be, how you want to be defending a lot? No, but is it a way you're going to have to defend? Absolutely. This is from a little bit more central position. All right, again, just putting that tackle, and again, that is a skill that you are going to have to work on and perfect as a center back. So range of passing. So we'll look at both Virgil van Dijk and Becky Sauerbrunn. A little manipulation of the ball there to create a shorter pass. A couple longer passes out to wider areas of the field. And then we'll look at Becky doing similar, wins the ball here, just dribbles to escape pressure, and then finds a shorter pass to a teammate. Here gets it and just plays a nice long ball in behind to set up a goal for Sydney Leroux. Clearing, we don't really need to look at that. I think everybody knows what that looks like for the most part. Heading, I'm sure people know what that looks like, but just to kind of get an example, a couple different types of header. You're defending a set piece. All right, Sauerbrunn just gets position on the player. All right, and then just has good timing in her jump to get up and head it away. And here we're looking at Big Verge going up and competing, knowing he's going to take some contact with it. All right, steps in. You notice at the last minute, kind of gets in front of the player to win that header. And then accelerate on the dribble. You see, this is just to escape. Defender closes him down and just dribbles to be able to find a pass. All right, accelerate away from the player, accelerate between two players, and find a pass. Win the ball in this corner here, a little bit of an acceleration to escape, all right, and create a passing lane to get forward. All right, so those are the technical qualities. Now we'll look at some tactical qualities. Obviously, your positioning is very important. Your anticipation or your ability to read the game so that you kind of have an idea of what's going to happen. You're not guessing, but you can see what's happening, predict it, and you can you can be prepared to move into the area of field, or maybe start to slowly move into the area of field so that you can take action. Marking and tracking, obviously very important. Make sure that you know where players are all the time. Players try to make runs off you in behind. We've seen some of that in the attacking where central defenders have lost their mark, and it's allowed players to get in behind and score goals. Covering, particularly behind your fullbacks. We've seen already some examples of the center backs going behind the fullbacks to cover, and then also recovery. Maybe you step into midfield and the opponent still has the ball, so you've got to drop back into your line. Vision, kind of related to that. Passing, if you're going to have that range of passing, you also have to be able to see where you're going to go with the ball, and then you also have to have the vision to recognize where the most dangerous attacking players are to either step up for a 1v1 or to mark or track them. All right, and then you've got to organize. You've got to be able to take charge and give some direction to players around you. Again, different defenders have a different style, but you definitely have to be able to communicate with players around you to make sure that you make your job a little bit easier. So we look at positioning. This is Becky again. You notice she takes that positioning where she's going to go to the ball, and then she recognizes that she can't. So she's in a deep enough position to cut this pass off, all right? But then she recognizes she won't get there, so she drops off just a little bit, all right, and then denies that penetration, all right, from the attacking player. Same thing here. You notice her positioning is inside. She sees where that pass is going to go. She kind of reads it. There's her positioning, and then as soon as the ball plays, she's able to intercept it. All right, so just knowing where to go, all right, just knowing where to be on the field to make your job easier and also to make the opponent less dangerous. Anticipation. You see Virgil stepping in there to win that ball. All right, sees the pass is going to go there, steps in, puts a tackle in to win it and keep possession. Another anticipation, you see the ball comes out here. Van Dijk recognizes it, battles Lukaku. All right, he sees the ball is going to go there. He's already on the way. All right, and he's able to beat Lukaku there. Even though Lukaku had better position than Van Dijk was able to get there because he was able to read the play. All right, you see, again, Sauerbrunn stepping up. She sees where the pass is most likely to go. She anticipates it. She's on the move before, just slightly before. Go back here one more time. Oh. She's already on the move there. All right, so the ball's going there. She sees the ball's going to go in there. The player's calling for it. As the ball gets played, she knows that's where it's going to go. So as soon as the pass is played, she's ready. She's not reacting. She's anticipated that that's what's going to happen, and she's able to make a play on it. So marking and tracking. See Van Dijk tracking the runner, try to play it in behind. All right. So he's on the run, closing the space down where the ball's most likely to go, and then he's able to intercept it. Same thing here. He's tracking on the inside there. See the runner, he's just marking up centrally, so when the ball is crossed, he's in a position to just step in and break up the play. Covering and recovery. So we look here, ball's played in behind. All right, Gomez doesn't win it. You see again, Van Dijk comes across. There he comes across to win the header. All right, so covering in behind that fullback. Same thing here, recovery, ball in behind. We're willing to run onto. Van Dijk recovering. All right, looks like Gomez is recovering there as well. Not sure if Gomez is playing right back or center back in that game, but you can see them both recovering back. Ooh. Sorry about that. There we go. And it's a Sovereign just covering in behind, getting position on the player, and then able to come out with the ball, all right, with a little bit more control than we've seen. Again, ball in behind where the fullback would be, gets across, puts in the tackle. So again, that when we talk about fitness later on, we see some of these runs into the corner or to the side of the field. That's an area where center backs have to be prepared physically to do that work. Vision and organization, we don't really have any videos for. Again, we've kind of talked about it a little bit in terms of what's required and why we need to have that vision, both in the attacking phase and the defending phase, and then also the organization to give players around you direction and instruction. And then we look into the mental aspects, presence. All right, so you've got, again, that it kind of can go into that that organization. If you're giving commands, then everybody feels calmer for your team, and then also perhaps if you're a good tackler or you're good in the air, or you're really good at passing the ball, then the opponent recognizes this, and they either have a respect for it, or they're maybe even have some fear of your ability to win tackles. Like they might not want to go into tackles with you because you're particularly good at them and very tough on them. If the ball's in the air, they might just say, you know what, I'm going to let him or her have it because I know that they're going to come and they're going to battle me and kick my butt and be really physical with that. So you need some sort of presence in the midfield for your team to make everybody feel reassured and calm and confident in you, and then also for the opponent to kind of give them that a little bit to think about. Leadership, again, it comes into organization. Everybody's style is going to be different. Some people are going to be quieter and just more direct and not say a whole lot, but when they do say something, everybody listens. Or some central defenders might be a lot more vocal and more demonstrative. They might, wave their hands a lot and point and do things like that. A lot of it just depends on your style. I think as a central defender, you're going to have to communicate, and you're going to have to organize, and you're going to have to show some leadership skills. But I also think that needs to be somewhat within your personality. You might be a little bit different person on the field than off the field, and that's no problem. I don't think you can be wildly different. But at the same time, if you think you're going to be a center back and never say a word and just be somebody who's quiet and really doesn't give people direction and show that leadership, then I think you're probably going to look at some point making a position change. Because this is definitely a quality that is needed. Command as well is maybe a little bit different than leadership. For me, command is telling you, hey, this is what needs done right now. Go here, step to this player, slide across. All right, and being short and direct. I think leadership might be, hey, things are not going well right now. We're struggling to get the ball out of our own end. How do we do that? Or we're being pressed as we try to play out of the back. So what am I doing to help my team in those moments? Or if things are going well and you recognize that your team is kind of starting to slack off a little bit, then you step up and say, hey, this is what we need to do this and we need to do better. Command is more about giving specific instruction on the field. Obviously, you have to be intelligent because you have to see all of these things for yourself, and then you have to be able to give those directions to other people. You have to see the game, understand the game, be able to communicate well. So intelligence is important. You have to be decisive. If you're going to sit there and go, well, I think you should, well, maybe no, maybe step, no, drop, no, slide, no, wait. if you're indecisive in your direction, and you're indecisive in your own action, do you step? Do you drop off? Do you go in for the tackle? Do you stand the player up? I think that, again, that's going to be a big problem for you in the position. It's probably going to be a problem for you anywhere on the field, but definitely as a central defender, you have to be very, very decisive about what you want to do. And then you have to be disciplined. Again, there's a time to put a tackle in, and then there's a time to not put a tackle in. There's a time to stand up the player and force them one way, and there's not a time. There's a time to drop off and deny space over the top, and then there's a time to step up and try to pull the player or the team offside. So again, you just have to have that discipline. If you're playing out of the back and you want to play out of the back, but your team is being pressed, that discipline to say, hey, you know what? This is not a time to play out of the back. We need to play longer. Or, you know what? We are trying to play out of the back and we're just being a little bit frantic and just kicking the ball up the field without any real plan. So we need to kind of calm down. You have to have that discipline to, hey, we need to stick with it and keep trying to play. So definitely a big part of it. Physically, maybe. Oh, wow. Okay. We have to have mobility. All right. You saw particularly covering in behind those fullbacks. You're going to have to be mobile. You're going to have to be able to move and get across. Obviously, you've got to tackle. Maybe you've got to get around opponents at times to get that tackle in or to intercept the ball or to get across them to win a header. You've got to have that mobility. Speed is not a key. You want two slow central defenders? Probably not. Can you get away with not being the fastest player in the world? Yes, if you can read the game well, if you can anticipate, if you can do some of the other things, then absolutely. But it's always nice to have some speed, and you have to have some level of speed. You can't be somebody who's super slow as a center back. But obviously, again, I think in any position of the field, if you can be fast, that's great. But I don't think it's the be-all end-all. Sometimes the speed is physical speed, and sometimes it's that mental speed of being able to read the game, or that technical speed of being able to execute, to put a tackle in at the right moment, or to play the pass at the right moment. Jumping ability, that's obvious. That's going to be a necessity. If you're going to win balls in the air, then you're going to have to jump to win a lot of them. So it's something that you need to work on. And in particular, when we think about physical training, it's got to be jumping off of one leg. All right. So you do a lot of squats, that's fine. 2 legs are fine. But if you're doing a lot of strength training that is bipedal, meaning you're on both feet, that's something that you're going to want to think about adding something that's more monopedal, just one leg, because when you jump, you're jumping generally off of one leg. So you're going to want to add that kind of training into what you're doing if you're not already. Strength, again, you've got to win those physical battles. So you've got to put the tackle in. You've got to fight through attacking players to get to the ball time. So the strength is going to be a big factor. Agility, being able to quickly change direction. You saw some of those 1v1s where the attacker tries to cut back the other way. You're going to have to, we define agility as the ability to change direction quickly. And that's definitely something you're going to have to do in that position. And then the fitness demand. The fitness demand is going to be very, very different than the fullbacks that we'll look at. Generally speaking, you have to cover diagonally across behind your fullbacks, but you're not going to, run forward like a fullback will. So your fitness demand is still high. You're going to need a really high aerobic capacity, meaning you can run all day with oxygen, so you can run long distances. But then you're also going to have to be able to make those 30, 40-yard sprints into the corners or behind your fullbacks to cover that space as well. So those would be the physical demands of the center backs. So we'll move on to the fullbacks. All right, and it's the same as the technical. The 1v1 duels are important, so you'll see some similarities between them, which makes sense because it's the same line of the team. You're in the defending line, but like the details of it might change. Something that central defenders, not that they can't have this ability, but if you're a great crosser of the ball, then you might find yourself in a fullback position because you cross the ball more than a central defender will. So you have to have some of that ability to cross the ball, at least from some part of the field. And there's crosses from different areas, and players might be better in some areas than others, but you're going to have to be proficient in most areas and maybe have 1 or 2 areas of the field where you're particularly good at crossing the ball. Also, you're going to need a range of passing. That range of passing in some ways is going to be different, and in some ways it's going to be similar to center backs. First touch to escape pressure. Frequently, we find fullbacks with the ball as we build up, or like they tend to have more space. But then fullbacks also tend to be players who teams try to press a little bit more. When the ball gets played to a fullback, that's a cue or a trigger for the opponent to go press. So your ability to have that first touch to escape pressure is key. You do have to have some clearing and heading ability. How those clearing and heading opportunities come to you might be a little bit different. Microsoft is restarting. Okay. Well, hold on one second and let me get Microsoft back up and running. Not sure why I decided to do that. As soon as I get it up, I will share my screen with y'all.
Hey Joe, while you're getting that back up, I'll just add a little comment about heading ability for a wide striker. So here, I'll start my video. Just one little thing I've started to really look at now is it's such a unique moment. Like you have to be able to track an opponent's movement, find that ball in the air, beat them to it, and really attack it. So it's different than a center back where it's two of you. I mean, it's a very unique 1v1 battle. So that has become more important, I think, once you get to the college game. It's like your awareness has to be really strong in that moment. I mean, sometimes they're whipping in across, and you got to be able to fight for that ball. Not just I'm comfortable getting up and winning them when they're in my area, but you got to seek it. You have to find it. You have to do it under physical pressure at times and really destroy that play. And that sets a tone for the striker. Like, oh boy, it's going to take something special to beat this wide back. So own that moment, do it right away so that it becomes easier throughout that game. So just thought I'd add that piece in there for that heading ability for a wide back, especially since a lot of goals at that college level do come in off of that deep cross.
Thanks, Jesse. All right, so we're back up clearing, heading, and then tackling. Again, tackling is going to be still going to be something that you have to do. It's just going to be slightly different in that moment. A lot of it's going to be on the run, and it's going to be more 1v1. Whereas you saw the central defenders, when they were making their tackles, they were in the middle of the field, but they had some support around them. Often fullbacks are making that tackle out wider, and they're often isolated. So we'll look at the 1v1 duels. All right, we're going to look at mostly this is Dani Alves and three players in the clips: Dani Alves, Crystal Dunn, and also Alphonso Davies. So we look here, 1v1. You see out wide. There's some support inside, but generally you look at Dani Alves, and he is 1v1 with that player. The closest support is a little bit further away than a central defender. You see he just stands up the player. There's Alphonso Davies there stepping in. It's a different type of a 1v1. Here's another one where he's out wide. Again, not a lot of support around him. He basically has to control that player because his support is far away, and it's a different moment for defending for sure there. All right. You see the stepping in there. All right. It's a short little one, though, but just got to put that tackle in. All right. Again, just standing up to the player there. All right. That's Dani Alves. Again, just standing up to the player, putting in the tackle, recognizing the right moment, again, standing up, and then recognize he can break up the play. So when we go back to our defending principles, he's just destroying the play. Here we go again, just patient. Player tries to run by him, recognizes it, all right, stays with the player. Notice the body shape there. So he's allowing him to go out wide, but he knows that's where he's going to go. He's looking for that change of pace. He knows that change come, and then he matches it. All right, and then we look at Crystal Dunn out here out wide. Again, puts in that tackle, has to recover because doesn't win the tackle, gets back in front. All right, trying to stay between the ball carrier and the goal at all times. That's her main priority right now. Squares up, forces the play back. So we got crossing ability. There's going to be different areas of the field where we can cross from, and different types of crossing. Again, Danny Alves, so he escapes 1v1, puts in an earlier diagonal cross. Here he's putting in a deeper cross from a more traditional crossing position, or where we think of as a traditional crossing position. And here's Crystal Dunn getting forward. Again, how's she going to create it? She's going to go to the end line, and she's going to play a low cross in to the front post. We'll see some other types of cross, but like those are the three areas: that early cross, that cross from the end line, and then the low cross from the end line as well is another, are the three basic areas where we have to have that crossing ability. All right, and we talk about range of passing. So we said it's similar. You're going to play some shorter passes, some longer passes. They're going to tend to be a little bit more diagonal at times, or at least the angle of your diagonal. When the center back was doing it, they were spraying it from a central area out wide. Obviously, as a fullback, you're receiving it out wide and you're spraying it in, so your angles change a little bit there. So we just look here. I believe we're looking at, yep, this is Danny Alves. You see he's a little bit more central and clipping it in behind. Here he's playing it in for the forward, bending it around the back line. And inside a little bit more, playing it from that diagonal cross from a deeper position. And you notice he's on his left foot there. So if you're a fullback, I would definitely encourage you to try to play with both feet. Because if you can play left or right-footed, then obviously you could play left or right fullback. So if you, again, from the college point of view, if I can recruit a player who can play both sides, it's like I'm recruiting two players. So I definitely encourage you in that ability to cut back in. You see the number of times Danny Alves cut in on his weaker foot in order to play that cross. So first touch to escape pressure. All right, we're going to look at Danny Alves here. Look at it. He recognizes it, a big first touch and into the space. All right, so that's one way that we have to recognize that first touch. Again, we'll watch it, bouncing ball. First touch, escapes pressure. He beats three players with one touch. Good recovery there, but they're able to keep possession and do so in the attacking half of the field. This is going to be a little bit different here from Crystal Dunn. All right. She's going to get it, but put pressure, quick little touch to beat the player. All right, invites that pressure almost. All right, invites it, opens her body, and then bye-bye. See you later. All right, so again, those are two ways that, like that big touch into space, when we have it, that's something that fullbacks are going to have to do a lot. And then that ability to see the ball, she had a lot of space to receive that pass, right? But as soon as the ball comes to her, she gets pressed. So that's a way that a technical aspect that we have to do. Jesse said, heading and clearing, heading in particular, it's hard to find clips, to be honest, because it doesn't happen often. I think one of the ways that you're going to see is this kind of ball, a diagonal ball. So you're playing a fullback, and you think about some of those passes that Van Dijk and when we looked at the center backs. So those are things that you're going to have to deal with as a center back. All right. So it's a short clip. It's not the greatest. All right, but we see it's just a diagonal ball played in. All right, and the player has to deal with it. When we look on the back post, the one thing I would say is some of your headers, I would call them emergency headers. So if you're defending on the back post closer to your goal, you're just trying to get a head on it and go anywhere other than at your own goal. If you knock it behind for a corner, that's better than letting somebody have a free unmarked header at the back post. If you just are able to knock it, just get something on it to change the path of the ball so it doesn't go to the teammate or the opponent rather that it's directed towards, sometimes that's good enough. So a lot of it is, again, I would kind of call it emergency heading. And it's something, if you play fullback when you're watching games, look for that. Look for that heading ability at the back post, like Jesse mentioned. All right, because it's a critical piece. It doesn't happen a lot. You might go games without having to do it. And then all of a sudden, in the biggest moment, you have to do it. And it's the difference between giving up a goal and preventing a goal. Tackling, again, you notice the different types of tackle here. That he has to step up to space in front of him, all right, to step and win the tackle. All right, so that's something as a fullback you're going to have to, can you step and win the ball in front of you? All right. Again, stepping up to win it. So you see again, it's just Danny Alves alone. All right. Those two tackles. If he doesn't win that ball, his opponent is gone. So tactically, we look at positioning again. All right, a little bit different. There's some different aspects to that. Again, we need to anticipate and read what the play is. Our marking and tracking, all right, slightly different than the center backs. Covering and recovery, solve problems in tight spaces. All right, we tend to get the ball in tight spaces sometimes, so we have to figure out how to get out of them. And the recognition of the 5 W's to go forward. All right, 5 W's. It's who, well, it's going to be me, but like when do I go? Where on the field is the ball? Where am I? Why am I going? So these are the things that we have to recognize about going forward. So we look at positioning, all right, of the fullbacks. All right, and this is a little bit longer clip. We're going to focus on Marcelo down here in the left-hand corner. See him checking his shoulder. Where is this wide player? He's not going all the way out to him because he wants to protect the middle of the field. Now the ball starts to shift across, and now he's going to get a little closer. Doesn't want to go close him down because he sees he's got this runner here. All right, see if he goes. If he steps to that ball, then they're not going to be able to track this player. So he just backs off, allows the midfielder to come across and help with the player on the ball. And now he wants to position himself so that he can see this player and know where he's at and kind of eliminate any passing option out to his feet. At the same time, he's concerned about this gap between him and Sergio Ramos, all right, as a center back. He wants to protect that gap as well. All right, and as the ball gets played, he's anticipating the pass is going to go inside, and he's able to step across and intercept it. So that positioning as a fullback is something you're going to get in this position a lot, where you feel like you're 2v1 and you need to manage that situation. You're going to have to protect the ball out wide and be able to get to that player to close them down, but you can't go too early to open up this huge gap to ask your center back to cover that space also. So the positioning aspect of it is very, very important, and you have to be comfortable in that 2v1 type of situation. So anticipation, she's just to step in and win the ball. Again, Danny Alves steps up, recognizes the ball is going to go be played in front of him. It's going to bounce. He's going to get across. All right, we'll look here at Crystal Dunn. I think this is the Crystal. Yep, Crystal Dunn sees the ball is going to bounce, steps forward out of her left back role to go confront and challenge for it, and ends up winning possession back in your attacking half of the field. All right, again, Crystal Dunn stepping out. We'll see it one more time. She anticipates that player receiving it, goes and puts pressure, can't win it, but then anticipates her teammate is, so she stays high, and now she's able to get into the attack, all right, and able to play a potentially dangerous cross in there. Marking and tracking, this will be Crystal Dunn. All right, this is pretty typical for what you'll see. It'll happen in different areas of the field. This happens to occur very high up the field in her attacking half, but you can envision scenarios where it happens closer to the goal. So you see she stepped to confront the ball. So she stepped to this opponent who had the ball. The player is able to get it essentially quickly. And now that wide opponent starts getting forward to try to get the ball back, but you notice Crystal Dunn tracks her. She looks to see where the ball's going, but she immediately is tracking back and closes that passing lane. So again, we can think as a fullback where this is going to happen a lot, where you have to step and deal with the player and confront them. That player plays it quickly away and then wants to get forward. You're going to have to track back, right, and deal with that. If you stay high and just stand there and watch the ball, then it's going to be too easy for that wide player to get the ball. All right, you see they actually get a goal-scoring opportunity out of her tracking of the player. Covering and recovery. See, player gets the wrong side. Danny Alves recovers. All right. An opportunity there for maybe the opponent to get around. All right, but Danny Alves recovers well. Oh, there we go. Again, Danny Alves there. Look at all the work he does to get back and get a tackle in. All right. One more time. Oh. One more time there. Tracking, running all the way back. Not quitting on the play. Even though he has help from two players inside, he's working to get back. Solve problems in tight spaces. This is a nice little clip here from Alphonso Davies. He receives the ball. He's surrounded by 3 players, stays composed, and is able to dribble his way out of trouble. And then the recognition to go forward. Here's a few clips from the 2018 World Cup. See the ball played out here. Again, we can just go back real quickly. So unbalanced, just gets forward, sees all the space, opportunity to play the long ball, gets wide. And then we play that early cross into the back post for a potential goal scoring opportunity. There's another one where the play forward, ball's played in over the top. And we see that the tracking there. So this is the exact situation. So the player's going to get forward. You notice this fullback, when the ball carrier lays the pass off, doesn't track the run. And now he's able to get wide. He gets to the end line, and he plays that cross, that low cross to the near post. All right. They have secure possession, so he knows he can stay nice and wide. He leaves enough space for the ball to be played in behind. Knows a cross isn't on, plays with his teammate, stays wide, makes sure he gets back to get onside, and then whips in the cross for another goal-scoring opportunity. Now, when we look, we're almost done here. We'll go through mental, so we have to be aggressive. All right, you see that that space in front of us at times. We have to go in. If we're going to go for a tackle, we have to go in for that tackle. We're isolated a lot of times. We're by ourselves, so we have to be able to deal with that. And that leads into the next one. We have to be independent. All right, sometimes we're out there, we're by ourselves. We have to make our own decision. If we're relying on somebody to tell us what to do all the time, then we're going to struggle. If we're going to rely on somebody to tell us when to go forward, not that we can't get encouragement or instruction from teammates, but sometimes as a fullback, we have to do it ourselves. We have to be independent, all right? We have to be resilient, because a lot of time we can face a lot of 2v1s in the game. We have to make a lot of runs forward, and maybe we don't get the service that we want, all right? We have to play a lot of crosses in where maybe our teammates aren't making the best runs, all right? We're going up against a really good winger who wants to dribble at us all day long, so we have to be resilient and just keep going. We have to understand that at times we're going to be in really difficult circumstances. Again, we have to be intelligent so that we can read the game. When do I step? When do I drop off? When do I go forward? When am I playing a shorter pass? When am I playing a longer pass? Again, we have to be decisive, all right? And then we have to be disciplined, all right? We can't just go forward to go forward, all right? We can't just roam around wherever we want. We have to make sure that we know where and when we're going places. Physical, again, that mobility, you can see that's going to be a lot of more runs forward, all right? And then recovery back. Speed, I think you have to be fast if you're going to play as a fullback. I think a fullback without pace is going to really struggle to play that position at a high level. You got to have high aerobic capacity, so you've got to be able to run and run and run. So you go run forward. You have to, if you sprint forward, you have to sprint back. Maybe not, but you're going to have to run to get back. You can't walk back. Obviously, strength to battle the 1v1s. The agility to be able to change direction quickly. And then this is a big one, repeat sprint ability. If you're going to make a lot of runs forward and a lot of recovery sprints back, you have to be able to do it at the same speed again and again. So the type of training that you do is very specific for you. It might be, you know, a little bit longer runs, like 10-yard sprints, probably not super functional. You probably need to make 20 and 30-yard sprints, and you probably need to change the recovery time to make those sprints. And you probably need to change the direction slightly. Some of them diagonal, some of them can be straight, or maybe it's a straight sprint back or forward and then a diagonal sprint back to recover towards your center backs. But you might want to limit the amount of time that you have between each run. Like, you don't want a full recovery. If it takes you 10 seconds, well, let's say it takes you 5 seconds to run 50 yards, half a field, then you might only want the same amount of time to recover. Normally, if you want to go for to do it full speed, you'd want 6 times whatever it took you. So if it took you 5 seconds, you'd want 30 seconds of rest. You might want to shave that down to 15 seconds. So if you're doing that type of specific fitness work, you want it to make sure that it's relevant and functional for the position. So you want to be able to make those high-speed sprints again and again and again. So that's it. We're looking at the 4-5 center backs and the 2-3 left and right fullback. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. If you have questions, you can stick around and put them in on the chat, or you can ask us on the mic. We can open that up for you if you want. But appreciate it. I know it took a couple minutes longer than we'd like to normally, but we wanted to make sure we dug into some of the details of the position for you. So thanks, guys. Enjoy training. Glad to have everybody back. Hopefully we can be playing games in the near future.